Everybody knows the Black Death of the 14th century as the deadliest plague that ever swept across the world. But what if I told you that 800 years before it, the exact same bacteria had already crossed the planet, killed millions of people, and driven one of the first great pandemics in recorded history? It's true. And the strangest part is that you've probably never even heard its name. How does a catastrophe that big just vanish from the world's memory? When someone says the Great Plague of the Middle Ages, one image pops into your head. Doctors in those eerie bird-beak masks, carts piled with bodies, medieval Europe being wiped out. The Black Death. And that makes sense. It got a name, it got paintings, it got movies. It became the ultimate symbol of the end of the world. It killed around 50 million Europeans between 1347 and 1351. Everyone agrees it was the first and the worst. Except it wasn't the first. Rewind almost 800 years to the year 541. The Eastern Roman Empire ruled the Mediterranean when a disease crept up the Nile, sailed into Constantinople, the most powerful city on earth at the time, and started killing at a terrifying speed. Its name? The Plague of Justinian, named after the emperor who happened to be on the throne. And here's the chilling part. Scientists used DNA to prove it was caused by Yersinia pestis, the exact same organism behind the Black Death. Same bacteria, same horror, 8 centuries earlier. So why did one become a legend and the other disappear? The accounts from that time are enough to make your skin crawl. In Constantinople, chroniclers described 5,000 deaths a day, sometimes 10,000. As many as 300,000 people may have died in that one city in the first year alone. And the plague didn't just leave. It came back, faded, and came back again across the Mediterranean, Europe, and North Africa for more than 2 centuries. This wasn't a quick tragedy. It was a shadow hanging over the entire world. And the numbers were staggering. For a long time, the history books said it killed somewhere between a third and 40% of the world's population. Some estimates ran as high as 50 million dead, nearly half of humanity at that moment. A share comparable to, or even greater than, what the Black Death would take 8 centuries later. And yet the name Justinian means almost nothing to most people. Why? First, because it struck at the wrong time. The Black Death hit a Europe that already knew how to write letters, record deaths, paint portraits. The Plague of Justinian arrived as the lights of the ancient world were going out, in an era with far fewer records surviving to this day. Less paper, less memory. And from the point of view of the Europeans who would later tell this story, it spread through a world that felt too distant and too ancient to make it into a history class. But there's one final twist, and it's the best one of all. In 2019, a team of researchers went back and re-examined everything. Fossilized pollen, coins, inscriptions, archaeological finds. And they concluded that the classic numbers may have been wildly exaggerated, that the horror might have been intense in Constantinople, but not across the whole planet the way it's always been told. In other words, the plague the world forgot is so poorly documented that even now, experts can't agree on whether it was the greatest massacre of antiquity or a tragedy blown out of proportion by a handful of panicking chroniclers. And that's where it gets beautiful. We started out asking which plague was the worst, and we uncovered something deeper. History doesn't preserve what was biggest, it preserves what was best documented. The Plague of Justinian probably killed a massive share of humanity, but it had the bad luck of striking in an age of few scribes and few witnesses with pen in hand. And so, it became a ghost. A catastrophe so enormous that it vanished precisely because it was too big and too old to fit inside our memory. So the next time someone tells you the Black Death was the deadliest plague in history, you'll know the truth is stranger than that. That there was an older, forgotten sister whose true size is still an open mystery. And if the greatest tragedy of the ancient world could almost disappear from our memory, how many others are still hidden in the folds of history, just waiting for someone to notice?